Hey, what's happening, everyone? It is I, the man, the myth, the mustache, Tim here, and have I got a video for you! And you, and you, and you. In fact, everybody gets a video! So, welcome to part 15 of What If Deku Could Use Haki. I just wanted to stop by and say hello and welcome, because you are in for a treat. So please, sit back, relax, put your feet up or down or whichever, however you want your feet, and let's just begin this story, shall we? Class 1A continued raging on with their training, filling the forest with nothing but screams of pain and frustration. Everyone was giving it their all, pushing their quirks to their absolute limits. Most of them weren't used to this kind of training, but they all had a mutual thought of encouragement. It was that a quirkless kid defeated the #1 hero in a fist fight, so they had no reason to be slacking off. Everyone was doing what they were told to do, except for one. In the distance, not far from the other students, one could hear loud blasts, followed by the occasional scream or bellow. It was Midoriya, and he was breaking himself. The green-haired boy did as Aizawa had instructed, and tried to master his new move, but it was both painful and difficult. He figured out how to willingly make his fist go up in flames, and it was by winding up to the point that he almost turned his back towards his opponent. The stance made it look like he was trying to throw a discus, except he was throwing his fist. Midoriya wound up properly until he shouted, "Red Hawk!" before throwing his burning fist into the mountainside. The mountain rumbled as another crater was formed into it. Midoriya was grunting in pain, for every time he used this attack, he would end up burning himself. The green-haired boy started to respect people like Bakugo and Todoroki, because they use fire-based attacks like it's nothing. Midoriya felt the pain course through him, but he didn't let it stop him. He clenched his fist tightly as he shouted, "Again!" before proceeding to repeat what he had just done. Not far away from the scene was none other than Aizawa, observing his student. He was impressed by the fact that Midoriya had managed to get the hang of his new move already, but he was looking for something else. He wondered what Midoriya's power actually was, and how it worked. Erasure had no effect on him, so it's not a quirk. At the same time, however, it couldn't be anything other than a quirk. A normal kid can't tank and knock out All Might, and they shouldn't be able to light their hands on fire. The tired teacher kept observing Midoriya at a distance, but never found an answer to his question. The day went on, and more pain followed. After the hellish training, everyone was told they had to cook their own food if they wanted to eat, which no one was particularly happy about. Midoriya was being careful, trying to maneuver his burnt hands without hurting himself. He ended up taking things incredibly slow, and that is when he realized something around him. He noticed that Kota was nowhere to be seen, even though he could clearly see Mandalay. The green-haired boy almost got worried, as he used his observation to see where Kota was. Midoriya's worry quickly vanished, however, when he found Kota's presence near a cliff in the forest. At first, Midoriya thought he would go and check on him, but he decided against it. He figured that Kota probably had a reason for wanting to be alone, and he decided to leave him be. "Midoriya," a cold voice called out, knocking Midoriya back into reality. The green-haired boy turned to face the voice, and noticed it was Todoroki. "I could hear your screams of pain from across the forest. How's your training going?" the bi-colored teen asked, sounding as cold as he usually did. Midoriya just sighed as he raised and pointed towards one of his hands while saying, "It's painful. I honestly don't get how you do it, Brain Freeze." Todoroki just giggled upon hearing this, as he responded by saying, "You'll get used to it eventually." Midoriya just chuckled upon hearing this, as he scratched the back of his neck. The two didn't get to chat for much longer, however, as Aizawa told them to stop slacking around. The two teens quickly got back to work, not wanting their teacher to get any more annoyed with them. The day after came, and the students didn't even get a chance to rest. It was back to hellish training immediately, and the forest would be filled with more painful shrieks from Midoriya. Later that day, it was announced that they would have a test of courage, but most didn't know how to feel about it at this point. Nightfall eventually came, and the students made different teams for the test of courage. Tiger was explaining the exercise to everyone, but Midoriya was barely listening to anything. He was much too tired and in too much pain to even bother with listening. The green-haired boy kept standing in the same place, even after the exercise started, until he was knocked out of his trance. It wasn't that someone nudged him or spoke to him, it was that he sensed something odd. He could smell something, but he couldn't put a pin on what it was. "Is everything all right, Midoriya?" Ida asked, sounding a little concerned. Midoriya turned towards his blue-haired friend, wearing a confused expression, as he answered, "I'm fine, but I thought I smelled something," while still sniffing the air. Ida got curious upon hearing this, and began sniffing the air too. "Now that you mention it, there is a weird scent in the air. Is that smoke?" Ida then exclaimed, almost panicked when he realized what it was. Midoriya's eyes went wide when he heard this, for he quickly realized he was right. The green-haired boy then felt something odd with his observation, and he could tell it wasn't good. It was familiar, but he couldn't put his finger on it. "Something's wrong," Midoriya muttered, trying to figure out where he had sensed this before. Ida looked at him confused as he asked, "What do you mean?" Wanting to hear more of what he was thinking, Midoriya didn't even look at the blue-haired boy as he answered, "I have a bad feeling. It's almost like the green-haired boy said, quickly cutting himself off. He now remembered where he had sensed this before, and it didn't help to calm him down. The last time he sensed something like this was at the USJ, right before the villains swarmed in. Midoriya began to panic as he ran through to the other students until he reached Mandalay. "Mandalay! Call the others back! We've been compromised!" Midoriya shouted with haste. Everyone, including the heroes, looked at Midoriya in confusion until they smelled something. They didn't have time to identify the smell until they clearly saw the forest light up with blue flames. The heroes quickly acted, but that is when Pixie Bob was dragged away by some invisible force. Midoriya's eyes followed, only to see someone holding a huge pole-like object to Pixie Bob's head. Midoriya got more frustrated as more and more villains showed themselves from behind the trees. "Everyone, get back to the camp immediately!" Mandalay called out with her quirk, as both she and Tiger tried to hold the villains off. Midoriya gathered up with Ida and more of his classmates until he stopped and realized something. One person wasn't with them right now, and it was Koda. The villains being there meant that no one was safe in the forest, and Midoriya was probably the only one that knew where the boy was. Midoriya didn't think about it any longer. He just took off. He ignored the cries and calls from everyone else as he ran straight towards Koda's location. Koda was panicking. Not only could he see the forest on fire, but he quickly realized he wasn't alone at the cliffside. From the darkness came a man clad in a dark coat, wearing some weird mask. Koda began to panic even more as the man stepped closer while winding up for a punch. But he was saved when something pulled him out of the way. The man's fist collided with the ground as his mask fell off his face. "Koda, are you all right?" the savior called, and Koda turned to see who it was. It was none other than Midoriya, and Koda was surprised to see him. How did you find me?" Koda asked, sounding shell-shocked. Midoriya just smiled at him as he answered, "I saw you come here once, so I just assumed you'd be here." Koda calmed down and almost smiled upon hearing this. His calm was cut short, however, when the man started to speak. "Are you Midoriya? The boss said we could kill you. Do you perhaps know where a kid named Bakugo is?" the man said, sounding menacing as he did. Midoriya slowly turned towards the man, slightly irritated. He could sense this man was pure evil, but wasn't the only thing bothering him. It was the fact he was after Bakugo, one of his friends, that irritated him. It's you! You killed my parents!" Koda shouted with tears in his eyes. Midoriya was shocked to hear this, as he more carefully inspected the man now. He recognized him from a news report about a villain. It was at that moment Midoriya realized that this man had killed heroes, and he knew who he was. The little irritation Midoriya had quickly turned into a burning hot rage, as he looked at the blonde man and said, "I see. You must be Muscular." Muscular was surprised as he grinned and said, "So, you recognize," but was quickly cut off by a very angry Midoriya. "Zip it! I don't intend on conversing with the likes of you, so I'm just gonna tell you 3 things. 1, you made a mistake coming here. 2, if you want to hurt any of my friends, you'll have to go through me first. And 3rd, I won't let you get away with what you did to Water Hose," the green-haired boy said, sounding almost as menacing as the villain. Muscular was caught off guard by this behavior, but he quickly smiled while he said, "All right, show me your," but was cut off once again by Midoriya, who charged and punched him in the jaw. The green-haired boy then continued by delivering Haki-infused punch after punch, all to Muscular's weak points. The villain tried to fight back at one point, but was hit in the family jewels by Midoriya's Haki-infused foot. Muscular could barely move, as the green-haired boy then delivered a kick to his head. The villain was thrown into the mountainside, making a loud crash as he landed. "I thought I told you. I don't intend on conversing with the likes of you," Midoriya said, before turning his back and walking towards Kota. The boy was shocked, because he could barely understand what had happened. Midoriya had charged in while Muscular was talking, and had caught him off guard. It was a cheap trick, but it worked. This went on to show one thing: Midoriya doesn't let an opportunity slip out of his grasp. "Are you okay?" the green-haired boy asked. Kota looked at him in awe, for he truly looked like a superhuman until he smiled and said, "Yes." Midoriya smiled back and was about to speak, until he was caught off by the sounds of rocks crashing. The green-haired boy turned to face the source of its sound, only to see that Muscular was still conscious. Midoriya frowned upon witnessing this as he muttered, "This guy doesn't know when to quit." Muscular staggered back to his feet, until he turned towards Midoriya with a wide grin. "That was impressive, but it'll take more than that to knock me down," the blonde villain said as he reached for something in his pocket. Midoriya didn't need observation Haki to know this wasn't good, so he rated himself. Muscular took some weird item out of his pocket before placing it over one of his eyes. The villain's body suddenly changed, transforming like it was somehow consumed by his own quirk. Midoriya was still recovering from his training. That is why he attacked and tried to knock Muscular mid-sentence. He knew that he can't take the villain head-on, so he wouldn't do that. But there was a catch this time. Kota was still behind Midoriya, and the boy could possibly take the damage that was meant for Midoriya. The green-haired boy steadied himself, coating his arms with Haki, as he prepared to take Muscular head-on. The villain charged at Midoriya, bellowing as he did. The green-haired boy tried to push the villain back, but it was too much. This wasn't like anything he had ever faced before, this brute strength. Midoriya was forced to the ground, while Muscular kept shouting and putting more pressure on him. Kota was horrified by what he was seeing. This man, this stranger, was being beaten up and almost killed, just to save him. He watched as Midoriya gave in more and more, until it looked like he was about to drop dead. Tears welled up in Kota's eyes, and he didn't want to see this anymore. Stop, he muttered weakly, but it didn't change anything. "Stop," he muttered again, only to get the same result. Kota didn't know what to do anymore. He felt so powerless, and all of his emotions started to well up inside him. Then he screamed, "Stop!" letting everything out like a raging wave. The world grew silent and almost stopped. This wave was powerful, and it shook the spirits of everyone present. Muscular was almost petrified by this power, as he loosened up some of the pressure he held over Midoriya. The green-haired boy was stunned by this turn of events. This was a power he was all too familiar with, one that both he and Rayleigh could utilize. Midoriya almost didn't want to believe that Kota was one of those people, that he could use Conqueror's Haki. The wave then disappeared, almost as quickly as it had appeared. And that is when Midoriya made his move. He broke loose from the still petrified Muscular, uppercutting him in the jaw as he did so. He then grabbed the villain by the hair with one hand, while winding up with the other. The green-haired boy then swung his blazing fist with fury as he bellowed, "Red Hawk!" right as his fist collided with Muscular's face, making a fiery blast. The villain was once again sent into the mountainside, this time losing consciousness. Midoriya panted heavily as his fist trembled from the pain, but he endured it. He then turned towards a shocked Kota as he smiled and said, "Thank you. You saved my life there," showing just how grateful he was. Kota looked confused, for he didn't know what Midoriya was talking about. "What do you mean? I didn't do anything," the boy said, making his confusion known. Midoriya just chuckled upon hearing this as he said, "No, Kota, you did everything. You just used an ancient and forgotten power that only a select few can bring out to the full potential of. It's called Haki." Kota was both shocked and confused upon hearing this as he muttered, "Haki?" Still sounding confused. Midoriya kept smiling as he answered, "Yes, Kota, Haki. Those of the select few are often individuals that are destined for greatness, and I believe that you are one of those people." Kota was once again shocked, but he was also happy. He didn't understand what Haki was, but he was happy to hear that the man who saved him also believed in him. "I'll tell you more about it later, but you have to keep it a secret. For now, let's get you somewhere safe." Kota didn't object to this, he only nodded. The green-haired boy then picked Kota up, before leaping off into the forest. Midoriya and Kota leapt through the forest, hoping to get back to camp without any trouble. Luckily for them, they managed to stumble across none other than Aizawa. The tired teacher looked skeptical when looking at Midoriya, for he could tell the green-haired boy had been in a battle. "Mr. Aizawa, I need you to take Kota and get back to camp. I don't know why, but those villains are after Kacchan for some reason." Midoriya quickly informed as he placed Kota back on the ground. He was about to run off into the forest, but was stopped when Aizawa called out, "Midoriya." Midoriya stopped and turned towards his teacher, who seemed to be conflicted. He knew that Midoriya was going to look for his classmates, and he would go regardless of what he was told. The tired teacher clenched his fist as he decided. Midoriya was easily as strong as All Might, and right now, they needed that strength. "Tell Mandalay that everyone has my permission to use their quirks, in case they need to defend themselves. Also," Aizawa said, until he stopped. Midoriya looked at his teacher in the eyes as he listened to his words. "I'm counting on you. Make sure that everyone comes back in one piece," Aizawa said. Midoriya was shocked upon hearing this. These words weren't some order that he needed to follow. It was a request. Aizawa was genuinely pleading for Midoriya to help him and everyone else. The green-haired boy clenched his fist as he nodded in confirmation. He then turned away and with haste ran through the forest. Aizawa was relieved, for now he knew that things would be okay. He believed in Midoriya, and he believed in his abilities. He knew that this kid was already a hero, and he believed in him enough to ask him for help. The tired teacher then sighed, knowing that his students were now safe. And that's our video for the day, so thank you all for watching and indulging yourselves in our story thus far. I hope you've enjoyed it. I know I have, and I'm not gonna kid you, these parts have been amazing! Now, there's a few more things I need to go over before the video ends. First, we have a second channel called Anime Deep Dive. Anime Deep Dive goes over the hard facts and lore of a wide variety of anime. It's sure to expand your weeb knowledge of all kinds, guaranteed. On top of that, we have a third channel called We the Celestials Naruto What Ifs. It's what we do on this channel, but in the vast world and lore of Naruto. So go check that out if you're in the mood for some jutsu action. Secondly, I want to thank everyone involved in the production of today's awesome content. Shout out to the writer, the audio editor, and the video editor, because without them, this video would not be possible. I'm just a cool voice that's read what's given to me. The people who do the behind-the-scenes work are the real awesome people, so give them some love, please. Their details will be in the description below. And finally, if you're interested in what we do here at We the Celestials, I want to extend an invitation to join our team. We only have one caveat: you must be 16 years or older to join our team. You can sign up for whichever category fulfills your interests by joining the recruitment Discord in the description below. Our Discord is an all-around fantastic place to be, whether you're a fan or you're just looking to join our band of misfits. And so that's it from us for today's video. So thank you all for watching! And this is a reminder that I do hope you're taking care of yourselves mentally and physically. Life is scary, but life will get better as time goes on. Let no one else say you don't deserve happiness, because you do. And you know what? I am glad that you are still here. You have been through so much, and yet you are still here. You are stronger than you think you are, and I'm glad you're still here with us. So once again, thank you all for watching. I hope you all have a great day. Mustache out.